"Can I stay at your place?" she asked me, soaked, shaking, and completely out of options. I should have said no. Instead, I gave a stranger the key to my home, and that single decision nearly changed everything I thought I knew about trust, loss, and what it means to start over. Before we begin, tell us in the comments, have you ever had a message or moment that completely changed your life? And where are you watching from? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more real emotional stories. Let's begin. My name is Ryan Mitchell. I'm 38, and for the last few years, I've made a habit of being the kind of man people don't notice twice. That afternoon, a soft spring rain drifted over the city, turning the street outside the cafe into blurred reflections of light and movement. The kind of rain that doesn't rush, just settles in, patient, like it has nowhere else to be. I was sitting at the corner table, the one I always chose. Old laptop open, coffee already going cold. I hadn't read a single line on the screen in at least 15 minutes. Sophie had a school event the next morning. She made me promise 3 separate times that I wouldn't bring work home tonight. I'd said yes every time. And there I was anyway. The cafe had been there longer than most of the buildings around it. Mismatched chairs, a chalkboard menu, quiet music that blended into the background. I liked it because no one paid attention to anyone else. Then she walked in. She was soaked, not completely, but enough that the rain had followed her inside. Light brown hair pressed against her forehead, a canvas bag clutched close like it mattered more than anything else she owned. She paused just inside the door, scanning the room. Every table was taken. I watched without looking like I was watching as she approached 2 different tables, asked quietly, and got the same response both times. A polite no followed by people looking away too quickly. By the time she reached me, I had already moved my bag from the chair across. "Excuse me," she said, her voice careful. "Could I sit here for a little while, just until the rain slows down?" I looked up at her properly then. There was something in her expression I recognized. Not weakness, not exactly. More like someone holding themselves together by force of habit. "Of course," I said. She sat down, keeping her bag on her lap for a long time, both hands wrapped around it, like if she let go, something might fall apart. "Thank you," she added softly. I turned my laptop slightly away, not for my privacy, for hers. Then I went back to pretending to work. The rain picked up outside, tapping steadily against the awning. The windows began to fog at the edges. She ordered tea, chamomile. When it arrived, she held the cup in both hands, letting the warmth settle into her fingers before taking a sip. For a while, we didn't speak. It wasn't uncomfortable, just quiet, the kind of silence that doesn't demand anything. Eventually, she broke it. "I'm sorry. I don't usually do this. It's just been a day." "Don't apologize," I replied. She glanced at me, a little surprised by that. I asked if she wanted something to eat. She said no in a way that meant yes, so I asked again. This time she nodded. When I came back with toast and jam, she hesitated for half a second before accepting it. Then she ate carefully, like she was trying not to look as hungry as she felt. "My name's Livia," she said after a moment. "Ryan." She nodded, like she was storing that away. She told me about her week in pieces. Lost job, missed rent, a relationship that ended right when things got hard. She spoke quietly, without drama, but there was weight behind every sentence. I didn't interrupt, didn't try to fix it. "That's a lot to carry," I said when she finished. She looked at me again, the same small surprise in her eyes. "Yeah," she said, "it is." My phone buzzed once. I glanced at it, then turned it face down on the table. "Sorry," I said. "Not more important than this." She didn't answer, but I could feel something shift slightly between us. After that, she talked more easily, about small things this time. Work she used to enjoy, a window in her old apartment that caught the morning light just right. Things that sounded ordinary, but weren't, not to her. At some point, she noticed the photo on my laptop. "My daughter," I said before she asked. Sophie, 7. She's beautiful. I smiled faintly. She'll correct you if you say almost 8. She's very exact about it. Olivia almost laughed. Then her phone lit up again. She read the message, didn't move for a second, then she set it down, face up this time. I didn't need to see it. Do you have somewhere to go tonight? I asked. She hesitated. I'll figure something out. That meant she didn't. I turned my cup slowly in my hands, thinking. Then I said, I have a guest room, separate space, nothing complicated. She stared at me. You don't know me. I know enough. That made her pause. Outside, the rain kept falling, steady, unhurried. Okay, she said finally. And just like that, something started. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like someone asking for a seat at your table and you realizing later it changed your whole life. The rain hadn't slowed by the time we stepped outside. I held the umbrella over Olivia without thinking about it, which meant I got wet on my side. She noticed. I pretended not to. My car was parked around the corner. Nothing impressive. Older, clean, reliable. The kind of car that doesn't invite questions. She got in quietly, her bag still held close, like she wasn't ready to set it down yet. I didn't say much as we drove. 12 minutes. That's all it took for the city to change. Not suddenly, just gradually. Streets a little wider, houses set a little farther back, trees older. The kind of neighborhood built to last, not to impress. I saw her notice it. People always did. But she didn't say anything. That told me something about her. We turned through the gate, and it opened automatically before she could ask how. I pulled up in front of the house, lights warm behind the windows, the porch catching the rain in soft, steady lines. Olivia didn't move right away. This is yours? She asked carefully. It's dry inside, I said, stepping out. She followed a second later. Before we reached the door, it opened. Dad? Sophie stood there in pajamas, hair uneven from sleep, holding the same stuffed rabbit she'd had for years. She didn't run to me, not anymore. At 7, she just stepped forward and leaned into me like it was the most natural thing in the world. I crouched and hugged her, closing my eyes for a second longer than usual. Then she looked past me. Olivia stood a few steps back, unsure. Sophie studied her with complete seriousness. You're wet, she said. Olivia blinked, then gave a small smile. A little. We have towels, Sophie replied, already turning back inside as if the situation had been handled. I glanced at Olivia. She's very practical, I said. Olivia let out a quiet breath, something between a laugh and relief, and followed us in. The door closed behind us, and the sound of the rain softened immediately. Inside, the house was warm, not in the expensive sense, in the lived-in sense. Coats on hooks, shoes by the door, one of Sophie's drawings taped slightly crooked to the wall. Olivia stopped just inside the entryway. I didn't say anything. That moment matters more than people think, the first impression of a place. You don't interrupt it. Sophie disappeared down the hallway and came back with a towel almost as big as she was, handing it to Olivia with both hands. For your hair, she explained. Thank you, Olivia said softly. Sophie nodded, satisfied, then looked at me. You're late. I know. You said you wouldn't be. I know that too. She considered this, then shrugged like she'd already decided to forgive me. I saved you dinner. That caught Olivia's attention. You did? I asked. Sophie nodded toward the kitchen. It's not as good now. It never is, I said, but I'll eat it anyway. She smiled at that, then walked off like the conversation was over. Olivia watched her go. She's... Olivia paused, searching for the word. Honest? I offered. That too, she said, but steady. I nodded slightly. She keeps me that way. I showed Olivia the guest room, separate entrance, small bathroom, a window facing the back garden. Simple, but everything in it chosen with care. "The key's on the dresser," I said. "You can lock it. Come and go whenever you want." She ran her fingers lightly over the edge of the desk, like she was checking if it was real. "You do this often?" she asked. "No." That seemed to matter to her. Later, after Sophie went to bed, I was in the kitchen pouring coffee when I noticed Olivia standing near the hallway. She hadn't gone to her room yet. "You can rest," I said. "No expectations here." She nodded but didn't move. "Ryan, why did you help me?" It wasn't an easy question. I thought about it for a second. "Because someone should have," I said. She looked at me for a long moment, like she was trying to understand if there was more behind that answer. There wasn't. Or maybe there was, but it didn't need explaining yet. That night, the rain kept falling outside. Inside, the house settled into silence, and somewhere between a borrowed room and a stranger's kindness, something had already begun to change. Olivia stayed 3 days. That was the plan, at least. 3 days to figure things out. 3 days to make calls, find something temporary, move forward. Plans like that have a way of changing quietly. The first morning, I left a cup of coffee on the kitchen counter without mentioning it. By the time I came back from walking Sophie to school, it was gone. That told me Olivia had woken up early. That told me she wasn't comfortable enough yet to move through the house slowly. By the second day, she sat at the kitchen table with her laptop open when I came in. Still careful, still trying not to take up space, but present. "You don't have to disappear when I'm here," I told her. She gave a small smile. "Habit. Bad one. I'm working on it." That seemed like the kind of answer that had history behind it. I didn't push. The house settled into something that wasn't quite routine, but close enough to feel steady. Mornings were quiet. Coffee, light conversation, the sound of Sophie narrating her day before it even started. Evenings were different. Sophie insisted Olivia sit with us for dinner the second night. Not asked, insisted. "You're here," she said simply, "so you eat here." Olivia looked at me, unsure. "She makes strong arguments," I said. That earned me a look from Sophie. "Because I'm right." Olivia laughed then. Really laughed for the first time, and something in the room shifted. After that, she stayed at the table without hesitation. I noticed things. The way she listened when Sophie talked, the same way I did, fully, without rushing her. The way she responded to that, opening up more, explaining things in detail that most adults didn't have patience for. That wasn't accidental. That's something you learn. On the third day, I took a call in my office. Door closed, voice low. "Move the timeline. No, we're not rushing it." Silence on the other end. "I understand the cost. We're not doing it anyway." When I came back into the kitchen, Olivia was standing by the counter, not looking at me, looking at the envelope in her hand. She set it down quickly. "I wasn't going through your things," she said. "I know," I replied. It was from a private bank, the kind most people don't recognize, but she did. That told me something else about her. She didn't ask right away. That told me even more. It wasn't until the next morning, after Sophie left for school, that she placed her phone on the table between us, screen facing up. My name was on it. Not just my name, my past. Articles, numbers, words like acquisition, founder, exit. She watched me carefully. "When were you going to tell me?" she asked. I took a slow sip of coffee before answering. "I don't usually." "I'm not usually, Ryan." "No," I agreed. "You're not." That hung between us for a moment. Then I pulled out the chair and sat down. "I built a company," I said simply. "Infrastructure systems. Nothing exciting to explain." "That's not what the numbers say." "They're just numbers." She held my gaze. "People don't walk away from that." "I didn't walk away," I said. "I just stopped staying." She didn't understand yet. Most people don't at first. "My wife got sick," I added. That was enough. It always is. The rest didn't need details. She died a year after we sold, I said. After that, none of it mattered the same way. Olivia's expression softened, but she didn't interrupt. That was something I was beginning to notice about her. She let things land. "So you chose this?" she asked quietly, glancing around the kitchen, the house, the life. "I chose her," I said. "Everything else just followed." She looked down at her hands, thinking. "You don't act like someone who has all that." "I try not to be." "Why?" I thought about that, then answered honestly. "Because the day I had the most of it," I said, "was one of the worst days of my life." She understood that. Not completely, but enough. That's the thing about certain truths. You don't need to explain them fully for someone to feel them. We sat in silence after that. Not awkward, just real. After a while, she said, "That night in the cafe, I sat with you because you looked kind." I met her eyes. "Good," I said. "That means I got something right." She held my gaze a second longer than before, and this time neither of us looked away too quickly. Somewhere between a borrowed room and a conversation that mattered, the distance between us had changed, not disappeared, but no longer what it was, and neither of us pretended not to notice. Jason showed up on a Saturday. I saw Olivia notice him before I did. She was standing near the front window, still in one of Sophie's oversized sweaters, holding a cup of tea she hadn't touched. Her posture changed, just slightly, but enough. "That him?" I asked. She nodded. There's a certain way people approach a house when they believe they still belong to something inside it. Jason walked up like that, confident, casual, hands in his pockets, like the past was something he could just step back into. The doorbell rang. "I'll handle it," Olivia said quickly. I didn't stop her, but I didn't leave either. I stayed in the hallway, far enough not to interfere, close enough not to miss anything. She opened the door. Jason leaned slightly against the frame, eyes moving past her shoulder, taking in the house, the space, the life. "Nice place," he said. "You landed pretty well." "What do you want?" Olivia asked. Direct, no softness. That told me she'd changed more than she realized. Jason smiled the way people do when they think they still have leverage. "Come on, Liv. You hit a rough patch, that happens. You don't have to run off and this house, whatever this is." Behind her, I stayed still. That's important. Sometimes stepping in too early says the wrong thing. It tells the other person you think they can't stand on their own. Olivia didn't move. "I didn't run," she said evenly. "You left." That landed. Jason's smile tightened. "I didn't leave. I just didn't want to get dragged into something messy." "Life is messy," she replied. "You just decided I wasn't worth the inconvenience." Silence stretched between them. I saw it then. The shift. Not in him, in her. There was no hesitation anymore, no apology in her tone, no shrinking. Jason noticed it too. His eyes flicked past her again. That's when he saw me. I didn't step forward, didn't say anything, just stood there, hands relaxed at my sides, meeting his gaze without challenge, but without giving ground either. He recalibrated. People like Jason always do. "This your situation now?" he asked Olivia, but his eyes stayed on me. "My situation," she said, "is none of your business." There was nothing for him to push against. No argument, no raised voices, no chaos. Just a closed door he couldn't open anymore. Jason scoffed lightly, like he wanted the moment to feel smaller than it was. "All right," he said. "Good luck with all this." He turned and walked back to his car. Didn't look back. Olivia closed the door slowly. For a second, she just stood there with her hand on the handle. I stepped closer, but not too close. "You okay?" I asked. She let out a breath she'd been holding for longer than just that conversation. "Yeah," she said. Then, after a pause, "Better than I thought I would be. That's how it usually works." She turned toward me. There was something different in her expression now. Not relief exactly. Clarity. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" She hesitated. "For not stepping in." I nodded once. "You didn't need me to." That mattered. Maybe more than anything else I could have done. From the kitchen, Sophie's voice cut through the moment. "Are we making pancakes or not?" Olivia blinked, then laughed softly. "I think that's my cue," she said. "Careful," I warned. "She negotiates aggressively." Olivia walked past me toward the kitchen, and I watched something settle into place that hadn't been there before. Not dependence, not obligation, choice. Later that evening, the three of us sat on the back porch. Spring air, cool but not cold, the kind that carries the smell of rain and something new growing underneath it. Sophie climbed into Olivia's lap without asking, already comfortable in a way that takes most people much longer. "Can she stay?" Sophie asked suddenly. I looked at Olivia. That wasn't my question to answer. Sophie turned to her directly. Olivia hesitated for just a moment. Then she said quietly, "I'm not going anywhere right now." Sophie nodded, satisfied, like the outcome had always been obvious. I didn't say anything, but I felt it, that shift again. The kind that doesn't come with noise or certainty, just a quiet understanding that something real is starting to take shape. And this time, none of us stepped away from it. A year later, it was raining again. Not the hard kind of rain, just a soft spring rain that turned the sidewalk silver and blurred the cafe windows at the edges. The same cafe, the same corner table. Only now, there were three of us. Sophie sat between Olivia and me with a mug of hot chocolate and a pencil in her hand, drawing with the serious concentration she gave to anything she considered important. Olivia had her usual tea. I had coffee that was cooling too fast because I wasn't paying attention to it. That happened more these days. The cafe owner greeted us like we belonged there. Maybe we did. A year had changed things, but not all at once. No big speeches, no dramatic turning point. Just 100 quiet choices made one after another until they became a life. Olivia had found steady work at a design studio she actually liked. Not glamorous, but good. Honest people, good projects. She'd moved into her own apartment in early summer and furnished it slowly, like someone learning how to trust her own decisions again. But she was at the house all the time. Some evenings for dinner. Some mornings for coffee. Weekends for Sophie's soccer games, school events, movie nights, pancakes, and all the little things that don't look important until you realize they are the whole structure holding a life together. We hadn't forced any of it. That was the part I valued most. After my wife died, I learned how quickly people try to name things before they've earned their shape. But whatever this was between Olivia and me, it had grown the right way, quietly, with room for truth. There had been hard conversations, too, about Sophie, about grief, about money, and how easily money can distort a person's motives or make them doubt their own. Olivia had looked me in the eye one night and said, "I need you to know I would have stayed even if you had nothing." I believed her, not because of the words, because by then I knew the woman saying them. Sophie put her pencil down and looked up at us. "This is where you met," she said, though she already knew that story by heart. "It is," Olivia replied. "You asked Dad if you could sit here." "I did. And Dad said yes." I smiled. "Actually," I said, "of course." Sophie considered that carefully, then nodded. "That's better." Olivia laughed softly. There was more light in her now than the day she first walked in from the rain. Not because life had become easy, just because she had become steady again. She'd rebuilt herself piece by piece, and there was something beautiful about watching a person do that without becoming hard. I looked at her, and she caught me looking. "Do you remember what you told me?" she asked. "In the kitchen? On the porch? At the cafe? You'll need to narrow it down." She smiled. "That night, when I told you I sat here because you looked kind." I remembered. I remembered everything about that night. She continued, "You said that meant I did something right." I nodded. She looked down at Sophie's drawing, then back at me. "It was the best decision I ever made," she said quietly. Something in my chest moved at that. "Mine too," I answered. Sophie, who had been pretending not to listen, slid the paper across the table towards us. It was a picture of 3 people standing in front of a house with a garden. A small girl in the middle, a woman on one side, a man on the other. Above us, she had drawn a bright sun, even though outside the sky was gray with rain. Olivia stared at it for a second longer than usual. Then she folded the drawing carefully and tucked it into her bag. We didn't have to. Outside, the rain tapped softly against the glass. Inside, the cafe was warm, close, alive with quiet voices and the smell of coffee. Sophie reached for Olivia's hand with one of hers and mine with the other, as if this arrangement was the most natural thing in the world. Maybe by then it was. Sometimes you walk into a place because you need help for one night. And if you're very lucky, if the right person looks up, if kindness is still waiting somewhere in the world, you find more than shelter. You find a table, then trust, then a home. And sometimes, without even realizing when it happened, you find the life you were meant to grow into all along. Thanks for watching. If this story meant something to you, please like and subscribe for more unforgettable stories about love, resilience, and second chances.